Yeah, but the thing is that we've been looking at, and I've actually looked at like feminist academia from when I was in college. The shit in Tumblr is no different. It
No.
just has fewer buzzwords. Like, did you see the episode last week that Brian, Bunny, and Teal Deer did on uh, the women having to make a patriarchal bargain with sperm banks?
What? No, I haven't seen that. A patriarchal bargain, huh? What was her bargain?
Well, because sperm banks stock masculinized sperm, women couldn't find sperm to pursue their feminine ideal or some shit.
Wait,
Except,
sperm comes from men. How
well,
can it be anything but masculinized?
no, they were saying that the donors were uniquely masculinized, but of course the feminist who was talking about it didn't control for the fact that the women might prefer to have sperm from masculine men.
And exactly what was her criteria for considering them masculinized?
Okay, all right. So what she did is she took a survey of sperm donor profiles, and if she found like she categorized certain traits as masculine, certain traits as feminine, and then she looked through other donors to find out the traits that they categorized themselves as, and then she found that they tended towards masculine traits.
I'm back.
But there was no like.
That's
control.
incredibly unscientific.
Yes, there was no control.
Not only are people their harshest judges, people also will claim to be what they want to be, and not necessarily what they are. And then who is she to say what is masculine and what is feminine?
Well, she used this list from like the 1970s to classify.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that she doesn't know, like, it doesn't support or deny her premise, because you can't tell whether or not the sperm banks are actually forcing masculinized sperm on women, or if they know that's the only sperm that they really want.
Well, you also don't know if those are the only guys going to the sperm banks to begin with.
Yeah.
It might be that having that set of qualities also makes a guy altruistic enough or desperate enough or whatever leads a guy to go into a sperm bank and donate his sperm knowing that some stranger is going to raise his children.
Well, the other thing is, how do you know that the men who have a sperm count sufficient to be sperm donors don't tend to have more
masculine traits?
Testosterone. Yeah. Like, Jesus. Okay, but Brian,
Jesus probably didn't donate.
No, probably not, but
All right.
Brian, go ahead.
All right, so we got Election But Her Tumblr edition. I've already started recording. So we'll see if this works. Okay, we saved the best for last. This is from Age of Shitlords. Thank you, Age of Shitlords. Tumblr butthurt over Trump's presidency was always going to be the most palpable.
Okay, before we continue, you're recording?
I'm recording, yeah. Yeah, I'm recording.
Sorry.
I had been for a little while. All right.
For posterity?
Yes.
For posterior! I mean posterity.
Somebody asked me, why don't you have like this stuff available for patrons who aren't able to get into the after show chat? And I was like, well, why don't I do that? Because it won't be widely distributed. It'll just basically be between us and the patrons who can't
get into the post shows.
Who don't get into, either aren't able to get into because it's the time conflicts, or they don't have that level.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So they still get to enjoy it. So anyway,
or for
continue.
people who can't, yeah. All right. So we've got angry otherkin, people pissed off at third-party voters, the works. Enjoy. First Tumblr post. Chicana feminist tax. Okay. Says, I'm seriously crying, you guys. I don't believe in this country. Well, it's real whether you believe in it or not. This country is full of racist people who decided to vote for an unqualified racist individual, a.k.a. Trump. Like we needed to know who you were talking about. I feel sad and scared for my immigrant family. I feel sad for everybody who will be affected when Trump decides to take away DACA. I am sad and scared for the future of this country. He will not make America great again. He will destroy the country. All right. And then someone responded, nationalist memes. Anyway, let us know when you're paying for the wall, lass. I'm sorry. It's pretty funny. All right.
Jeez.
For everyone planning to kill themselves in the event of a Trump victory, don't. We need you. The world needs you. We've been through this before in one way or another, and we have prevailed. Who benefits from your death? Only those who want you silenced. There will be blue skies ahead. There will be triumphs. There will be unicorns. There will be the sprinkles that go on top of ice cream. There will be sour jelly bellies, my favorite. This is not the end of the world. Don't go gentle. We are here today because of the stubborn refusal of our predecessors to go away. There are oases even in the darkest of times. You are not alone, and you have not been abandoned. There will be blue skies ahead, and you will live to see them.
Jesus.
Oh my God. The cringe!
They've got the list of suicide crisis centers. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Like, this is serious. There are people that are actually claiming...
Well, they're threatening. They're threatening, too. Remember when we said what women tend to attempt suicide more often, men tend to succeed more often? This is just, like outside of that. Tumblristas tend to threaten more often.
Yeah, the whole idea of somebody who's a regular on a website where they have declared mayonnaise a gender, saying she doesn't believe in the United States. You're not allowed to not believe in anything if mayonnaise is a gender to you.
Sorry.
Everything has to be real and believable.
You know what sickens me most? If there is like a measurable spike in suicides, like over these few days and the coming days, who do you think the mainstream media is going to blame it on? Hey?
Who should they blame him on?
That would be Trump. It had nothing to do with us. We didn't fill everyone's heads with this fucking nonsense.
No, they're going to blame Trump, even though they got all these ideas from the media.
A monster has just been elected. A monster who will destroy everything has just been elected. Yeah, believe it. Believe it. We're telling you. This is what's true. The world is over. Like, this reminds me.
Do you remember the Rachel Maddow reaction?
Do you remember? Have any of you ever seen the footage of the women in Japan who were hurling themselves off of cliffs when the Americans came in and took over? Right, when the American military at the end of the Pacific War, right, came in and took over. Japan had surrendered. The Americans were coming in. And the Japanese media establishment, their propaganda machine, essentially said that the Americans were coming to mass rape and murder the women. And there were women who were hurling themselves off of fucking cliffs in anticipation of the Americans coming.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who's at fault for that? Is it the American soldiers who came in and helped rebuild the country and helped get their economy going again and all of that? Or was it the propaganda machine that told them that there was a monster at their door who was going to rape and murder them?
No, this is what happens when you only get your information from inside the echo chamber. You know, you only get your information from inside your safe spot where none of the ideas are allowed to be questioned and none of the ideas are allowed to be challenged, and no ideas that are not already in there are allowed to come in. And then all of a sudden, somebody busts down one of the walls of that safe space and says, look, there's a whole other world out there. People inside freak out and they start doing shit like this.
Yep. Okay, moving on. Cambridge Inspiration writes, I am not an American, so I won't be describing how it feels for them, because I don't know. But for me, a European, it feels utterly terrifying. I want to cry from despair and feel kinda lost. Huh? Not knowing what now will happen in the world. For the Americans who support Hillary Clinton, it must feel much, much worse. My thoughts are with you. Let's unite. Let's unite us to make our world better in a way outside of politics.
Okay, a couple of rather telling things here. Your name is Cambridge Inspiration, and you identify as a European.
Yeah.
You got something slightly wrong there, my friend. I can tell where you're coming from.
Otherkin bullshit writes, I am extremely drunk right now. I really hope Trump doesn't become president. He doesn't even respect my existence. I fucking just... How?
Oh, no. Says, I am extremely drunk right now.
Yeah, right.
I really hope Trump doesn't become president.
I'm pretty sure
Okay,
he
but is this person an otherkin? Because, I don't respect the existence of people who think they're actually dragons and shit.
Yeah, and like solar systems.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like otherkin dash bullshit. Maybe this is a person who doesn't accept the existence of otherkin either.
But well, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I was wondering. That's why I was wondering.
Maybe I can. No, I can't. This is a screenshot. All right, never mind. Sowing season. Pro uterus agenda. This is. Remember this election.
Everything.
Yeah. Remember this election the next time someone tells you that rape accusations ruin men's lives. Oh, so you're saying that most men who get rape accusations go on to become presidents?
Yeah. Well, and the fact that there was an entire contingent of supporters who dug into those rape accusations and found out they were false and then didn't buy them does not necessarily play into the guy who has an income of $10 an hour at the local gas station. If he gets falsely accused, he doesn't have a whole contingent of supporters digging into those accusations and proving them false, and the rest of the community going, oh, okay, well, in that case, bullshit. No, even if it's proved false, he gets turned on by the community. And of course, after they were proved false, Hillary supporters were still trying to use them to torpedo Trump because they expected it to work.
Mike?
It seems the obvious response is, well, they did a pretty good job of ruining Bill's career, but I think the better response is, what about those domestic violence accusations about Hillary?
Mm-hmm.
Remember those? Yeah, fucking nobody does. They didn't do a thing to her
and
life.
the accusations
Yeah.
of her abusing Secret Service agents and her aides and stuff like that.
Mhm.
She didn't just abuse Bill.
Mm-hmm.
And her affairs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the fact that she
a
was
brutal
a
woman.
passenger on the Lolita Express
Mm-hmm.
numerous times.
Lolita Express?
Oh yeah. God, I can't think of the guy's name. That he was.
The
Was
campaign
it
manager?
Yeah, no,
Well,
not Podesta.
okay.
The guy that owned the Lolita Express. I gotta look this up because I can never remember.
I'll
his
find
name.
out while you tell the story.
It's essentially a flight where you go and you fuck underage people.
It had more than that. It was like a whole. There was pedo stuff. There were young women that were adults that were there to relax and massage people. There was
Jeffrey Epstein.
Epstein. And it went to an island, and on the island there was all this shit going on as well. And there was a connection between that with Hillary and the woman in Haiti who got busted trying to rescue orphans who were not orphans by removing them from the country. It was the Clintons who showed up to bail her out.
Yep.
So there was some real serious shit that went down that has been very little covered. It's mostly been 4chan and Redditors that have been looking into it, but it looks like the Clintons, there's evidence that the Clintons may have been involved in a child porn ring and a pedo ring.
Yep.
Well, I'm gonna reserve judgment on that just because accusations of child porn and pedophilia are such absolute, game enders for anybody.
Yeah, they are. And the
and,
evidence isn't solid, but there is
Yeah.
evidence, and it's mostly connections like that. Things like they were involved with that, and the minute there's somebody that gets in trouble for trying to kidnap a whole bunch of kids, who's right there? The Clintons. And the only thing that they have in the emails, there's a big deal about the emails, but the only thing that they have in the emails is that it looks like the cooking talk in the emails might have been code for pedo stuff, but I looked at that, and it could just as easily have just been them joking around and talking about real food. And the one thing that people think is the big gotcha, the walnut sauce, which is supposedly code for walnut sauce is supposedly code for black people. There actually is such a thing as walnut sauce. It's not a made-up thing. That's a real thing. So they could be talking about food there.
Yeah, no, and I like when, just like with Podesta and I got the rabbit's foot. I got my fingers crossed. I got the rabbit's foot out of the trunk in the attic, and I sacrificed a chicken to Moloch in the backyard.
Yeah, that
right?
sounds like joking too.
Yeah, no, that just sounds like somebody who's just being ridiculous. Like, that sounds like somebody like Allison handing Al that box and saying, "Here's your 40-pound box of rape."
Yeah. But the pedo stuff, there's, like I said, there's smoke there. It doesn't necessarily mean the line about where there's smoke, there's fire is not true, but there is definitely smoke there, and it's pretty weird smoke.
Yeah, it's very weird smoke. Okay, so swing season writes, "This was not a year to vote third party. This was a year to vote with common sense. Voting third party and knowing that candidate had no chance of winning was stupid. People that voted because of their moral standpoint or because they didn't like the other candidates are partially to blame, especially in states like Florida."
Can I? Is so spelled with an O in America, or does that in fact spell sowing season?
I think it's sowing season.
No,
it's
it's
female pigs.
spelled SEW. But
No,
the thing is,
it depends on what you mean. If you mean sewing clothes, it's SEW. If you mean sewing seeds, it's SOW.
Oh,
the thing is, that one isn't all that out there. If Hillary had won, there would be Republicans saying that same thing.
Yeah. No, for sure. The people would have said that because that's sort of the rhetoric that usually goes around. It's not really.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I gotta be up early tomorrow, and I need to walk home. I don't want to interrupt you. No, don't wrap it up. Not on my behalf. Keep going.
Okay, so you're saying you're leaving?
Yes.
Okay.
But you can keep going. I'm sorry, I didn't.
Allison doesn't love us anymore.
I know you gotta walk home, and I know how far away it is.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
Good night. No, it's I'm actually
Allison.
interested in this. But I know that I have to get to bed
Yeah,
So-
I hear you.
for an early morning.
Did you guys? Did you hear about? I'll say this instead of like going through more of these. Did you hear that about CalExit? You know about that? People in California trying to get California seceded from the rest of the United States because they're so upset about the Trump victory that they want California to become its own country.
It's not going to work very well. California's economy wouldn't be able to support that at all.
I joked about that on Twitter on the election night in reference to the Tool song that, like, see you in Arizona Bay. Because California can just physically secede and, like, go join Hawaii and just, like, hang out.
Just become an island.
Yeah, no, they can totally physically secede, and then they get to buy water from the rest of the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to do that. They not only do they not they're behind economically already, but what are they going to do when the next time they have a big earthquake and they need disaster relief? I mean, they're still coming out of a time when they had rolling blackouts because they couldn't deal with their utilities properly.
They have just legalized recreational marijuana, so their economy is going to start booming. Now
Everybody will be
wrong
so
time to
stoned.
secede.
Everybody will be so stoned they won't care anyway. No, we haven't got anything to eat, but
Yeah.
They'll probably save more. They'll spend like $10 on a freaking gram of hash instead of, and then they'll be like, "Oh fuck, I don't need to replace my cell phone."
There was one other thing too. If you guys heard, oh wait, was that one of the patrons? Go ahead.
I hope they do, because howling will be California howling.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't miss it. I've only been there once. I thought it was all right, but a bit weird for my taste.
In the union after we crushed them completely. LGBT people and everything else.
Yeah.
We'll just go in there and just crush them like Sherman did with Georgia and South Carolina.
It's just more threats. It doesn't really amount to anything. That's like the same. Like they also like talked about starting a revolution. Fucking the Young Turks were calling for it when they saw that Trump was winning, and they were getting really emotional. Did you hear Anna Kasparian's flip out, where she basically was like, "I have no respect."
Actually,
What?
Oh, any woman who voted for Trump, I don't respect them. I think they're just dumb.
Yeah. She just went after women who voted for Trump because a majority of women have voted for Trump.
She's better than you. That's
Yeah.
it's as simple as that.
Well,
Yeah,
then
she's
she should
better
change
than
her name to Bertha. Just don't go to the wrong church. There might be a
She's better
squirrel
than
in there.
you. She's smarter than you. She knows, And she would have said the same
And
thing
gosh
about.
darn it, people like her.
She would have said the same thing about third-party people. I think they actually did talk about that for a bit. 'Cause they were-
Actually, I saw a recent video from the Turks. Everybody was bringing up the sexism and shit of why Democrats lost. Actually, Cenk, sensible one, he explained it right there. Establishment candidate. That's why the Democrats lost.
And it's funny.
Establishment candidate.
Well, that's because they want to start a revolution, and they think that, but they had all of their eggs in the Bernie basket, and when Bernie was taken out of the race,
Well, Bernie would have been better. Bernie would have been better.
oh sure,
Honestly,
So, look,
honestly, as much as I hate to say it, and as much as you guys might not believe me, I actually think there's an ounce of sense in Cenk's head. He has
he has
changed
moments
his
of lucidity.
position.
There's an ounce
He-
of sense, but yeah.
It's mostly
He
made of
changed-
ham.
He changed his position on infant circumcision between when he did his interview with me and a year later. He came to the conclusion at some point that, yeah, I still don't necessarily see what the big fat hairy deal is, but it's probably not something we should be doing to non-consenting minors. It's probably not something we should be doing to kids. Right?
Mhm.
I actually think that Cenk, and a lot of people say Anna's the more reasonable one, and Cenk is the more stupid one. But I actually think it's the other way around.
I've known that for some time. Not just the stupid one, but the fucking more angry, evil one.
Yeah,
Anna, I mean,
I don't trust Anna.
Anna is a fucking, and she's a liar.
Mhm.
She's an absolute liar. When she was she told that story about how she freaking hit that 15-year-old kid
Yeah,
on the bike
and then change the
and
story.
then kicked him. And then she,
You mean that
people
man in
called
the
her-
middle of the night that scared her?
Yeah, and then she changed her story, and it was all of a sudden it wasn't. Yeah, I felt righteous and angry and empowered. It was like I felt scared and terrified and intimidated, and I had no choice. And yeah, no, she completely changed the entire fucking. She's such a fucking liar.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say she's such a fucking woman, but that.
Thank you very much.
That's funny. Also,
No,
did you
but
see-
I think that most of the women who are involved in this particular project aren't typical women.
Mhm.
I don't know who's worse, Anna or that Hispanic chick that spoke after her.
Oh, that she was just stupid. She was just dumb. She was saying, "Oh, women do everything. They raise the country as single mothers," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's part of the fucking problem."
Yeah.
That's not something to be celebrated, dumbass.
You literally make a conscious choice to raise your children in the worst environment possible,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, and because we actually managed to keep them from fucking, I don't know, walking off a cliff before they turn 16, we deserve, we're leaders.
Except that the vast majority of them don't. That's why we have gang culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the inner
That's
city.
why we
there's
have-
no
That's
Maybe
fathers.
if they had fathers at
That
home.
is why there are so many boys in juvenile detention facilities right now, because the vast majority of single moms don't keep their kids from walking off a cliff.
Silver
It's just,
lining,
you know,
though.
figurative. And the other thing is the feminist behavior after this election. What they have basically done is they have admitted to women, yeah, we support women's right to vote. We fought for women's right to vote, but only if you vote our way. We don't support your right to make your own choices when you're voting. We just wanted you to be another arm for us to vote.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it was.
Yeah, when the South got seceded from the Union, they were bitching about the vote.
Yeah. Also,
Oh, John Brown died fighting slavery when they were fighting for bitching about the vote. I mean,
mm-hmm.
Well, like in World War One, of the 3 million UK men, 2 million of them wounded, 1 million of them dead, the majority of whom did not have the vote. What were fucking suffragists doing while they were out doing that? They were agitating for votes for women.
Yep.
the woman I have respect for in the Civil War was Clara Barton. She went out. She was one of the nurses who went and helped the men out, and she started the American Red Cross.
I really liked Mother Jones, Mary Harris Jones as well. She didn't fucking give a shit about women's suffrage. She was just like, you don't need the vote to raise hell. She fucking was a thorn in the side of every freaking politician in her area, in the nation. She fought for workers' rights. She fought alongside men. She fought for men. She fought for men and their families, right? And she was just like, yeah, no, I don't need the fucking vote. Why would I need that?
Oh, you want to hear a funny anecdote? You know why Abraham Lincoln grew his beard? A young girl wrote to him and told him, women like that, and they'll teach their husbands to vote for you.
Yeah.
And it worked.
No, they used to actually print. They used to print election posters, essentially saying, tell your best boy or whatever, to vote for so and so, right?
Yeah.
Like election posters aimed at women, to try to get the women to convince their men to vote a certain way. Do you really think in 1905 they would have wasted the paper and ink to print those posters if they weren't effective?
Mm-hmm.
So when feminists say women and girls never had any influence, they're full of shit.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys see the Rachel Maddow thing?
No.
Oh,
That was
yes,
great.
this is
too.
our country.
First of all, Hannah, do you know who Rachel Maddow
dreaming.
is?
She's a news anchor.
She's
I don't remember what.
MSNBC.
Everybody fucking tells
Oh,
me
PMSNBC.
Yeah, PMSNBC. That's right. She's like the worst. And yeah, she was like
Isn't she going to Canada?
Rachel Maddow.
Did she make a threat to go to Canada? Or
No, I don't think she did. She had
But play the clip. Play the clip, Brian.
You'd have to go to, because I don't think that we can listen to it. Online.
People tell me that I look like her.
YouTube.
Although mostly they now tell me I look like 11.
Just because of the short hair. I could see it. Maybe when you were a kid. Rachel Maddow.
Oh no, not Zarna.
No, it's just a short clip where she's just like.
On Twitter.
Is it on Twitter?
Oh, here we go. Wait, up.
Can you what?
Up.
Up a little bit.
Up a little bit. Keep going.
No, these
okay,
are all,
wait.
These are all pretty far back.
No, sorry. I thought.
Yeah, it's got to be from
Okay.
like yesterday or something.
Yeah, I thought I saw it.
Let's say today.
Here we go. Rachel Maddow blames the election of Trump on third-party voting.
Oh,
Is this
typical. That's the same argument both sides make. It's all the fault of the people who didn't vote for one party or the other, as if all of them would have voted for the person that's mad wanted.
Yeah. I had Paul Joseph Watson has a fucking fantastic video. I don't know if you guys you may not be able to hear this though. That's the problem.
I can believe all those people crying at.
And which Republican candidate has...
This is amazing too. This is Ann Coulter predicting it was Trump, and everyone laughs at her.
Months ago or something.
Yeah, it was a while back.
the best chance of winning the general election?
I think I saw that.
Ones right now, Donald Trump.
Because
Yeah,
it
she
was
said-
replayed on several other outlets.
Yeah, he said, who's going to win? She said, of the declared candidates, Trump, and everybody laughed.
Yeah.
Just made another good prediction. She said, "Don't attack Hillary, because we can defeat her.
Donald Trump.
Yeah.
She was the easiest one to defeat."
President.
Here it is. It's glorious.
Wait, I
Donald
think she
Trump.
did make a correcting go in there.
You're not having a terrible, terrible dream. Also, you're not dead and you haven't gone to hell. This is your life now. This is our election now. This is us. This is our country.
I literally gotta kill myself. That's her
I saw
expression.
that video there.
Yeah,
You know, look how angry she is. Look at those eyes. Like
I
she's
know.
trying to hide
she's livid.
flat out rage there.
Yes, she is livid in that image. I love that Paul puts in these little pepes like. Comparing to the brain.
The brain.
Champagne
It's
glass.
hilarious.
Oh,
Oh, this one. Yeah. Call an ambulance.
Whoever did the CC for this,
I know, like,
she had said she was gonna kill herself. They put tell herself. And with Rachel Maddow, they said Donald Trump instead of Donald Trump.
President Obama, Mr. Obama, I want to say thank you for everything you've done.
This is Miley Cyrus.
It's the Trump trade, not Donald Truck.
You're not fucking pissed right now. What is
What?
wrong with you?
I gave an offer on
fucking
Twitter
wrong
to
with you?
Amy
You're not
Schumer
pissed
and
right
Linda
now.
Dunham help them pack to go to Canada. They still haven't answered.
Well, of course not. They probably can't now because the Canadian immigration website crashed.
Yeah.
I heard that. That's funny.
I don't know why they thought they could like get out of the country so fast. You know how long it takes to go through immigration? There was like I saw people seriously talking about how the minorities stop using condoms and just stop taking birth control and just make babies so that they can be the majority next time. So that they can be the majority next time they vote. And
they already are doing that. It's just that they're aborting the babies after they get pregnant.
Yeah.
And no, I'm serious. Particularly black women. Black women abort
Oh,
per
yeah.
capita. Black women abort 5 times as much as white women.
Mm-hmm.
If they didn't, they would be the majority now.
There's a high rate of abuse and killing of their own children among black women.
Yeah. And
Actually, the largest number of child abusers is white women. It's now I don't know about per capita.
I was gonna say, I
but
think per capita
the
it might be
majority
black women,
of
but-
child abusers. There was somebody that was saying, you know, black people are a minority, but the majority of child abusers are white women are black women, and I looked it up, and it's not true. The majority of child abusers are actually white women.
Yeah, but that
Single?
doesn't that doesn't really mean that there's not a higher rate among black women than
Right,
white
there
women.
would have to be more than 6 times as many white women abusing their children as black women abusing their children for it to be disproportionately high among whites. But
Yeah.
but yeah, the thing is, it's
And
pretty.
I would suggest
it's not higher among blacks than it is
no.
among whites.
It's the same. It's the same as it's the people phrase things wrong. Like they phrase things wrong all the time. They say the heart evolved to pump blood. No, the heart evolved because it pumps blood. That's
Well, I mean, what I mean is, it's not disproportionately high among blacks either. It is not. They're not abnormally high for their size of their group. It's
okay.
So it's what it is that it's more noticed. It gets prosecuted more. Their babies get taken more. Things like that. And they get accused in circumstances more where they didn't do anything too. So there's a little bit of skewing of numbers there. But as far as like if you go looking at serious injuries and deaths and everything, the proportion is not. From what I've been looking at in the numbers, the proportion is not higher per capita among blacks. They're not more abusive to their children, but it gets more attention when they are.
Yeah.
Where they do have problems is they're more likely to be single parents, and they're more likely to be living in poverty, and their kids are more likely to suffer the consequences of that, and so on. And they are a lot more likely to have abortions.
Yeah.
Well, how does the abuse itself compare, though? I mean, not on the numbers, but the kind of abuse. Is there one that has a worse kind of abuse than another?
You see more neglect, like physical neglect, in groups that have more poverty, and you see, disproportionately more physical abuse than outside of those groups, or at least less. And it's
targeted neglect, right? Because there's two kinds of neglect. There's a kind of neglect where you're just not capable of properly caring for your children, right? You just like maybe you're drug addicted or whatever, and they fucking are scrounging in the cupboards for like crumbs and shit, right?
Right.
And eating moldy pork chops out of the fridge, right? That's basic neglect, but there's something called targeted neglect as well, which is where you have maybe you have 3 kids and you treat one of them really, really poorly. You treat the other 2 well. They are wearing nice clothes. They get to school.
It's like Cinderella.
And you treat the other the one of them really, really bad. You just don't fucking pay attention to them. It's a targeted thing. Erin Pitsey said that essentially her mother was extremely abusive, but all of the abuse was targeted towards herself and her brother, and her twin sister did not suffer any of that. Her twin sister was favored. The reason why she and her brother were targeted was because they looked like their dad.
Well, and there's also situations where people are in, classes where they don't have abortions, but they don't put their children up for adoption. If they didn't want them, they try to raise them anyway because it's considered the right thing to do. And then the child ends up neglected because the parent was never invested in the child's welfare. And that's not an always thing, because a lot of times the first thing that happens when a child is born is the parents bond with the child, and that fixes that problem. But there are people who don't have it in them to do that, and they still try for the sake of appearances. And there are Munchausen's cases, and there are things like people who take in foster kids who do it for the money, or they do it because they want to look good instead of because they care about the kids, and abuse happens in those instances as well. So you have all kinds of things like that happen.
Yeah. Well, and did you actually look at Gad Sad's video that he put out today? He was talking about this sort of social justice warrior meltdown as being actually psychologically similar to Munchausen syndrome.
Yeah, I saw there was a video, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, no, I actually think he's onto something there in terms of, exactly, because here's the thing, right? Like, as a parent, right? When you're like closing the door of your hatchback and you bonk your kid's head, right? The last thing you fucking do is go, "Oh my god, are you okay?" Yeah, no, you're like, "Oh, you okay, dude?" And then the kid decides if they're okay, and then they're like, they rub their head and they're like, I'm all right. Right? Okay, that's how you deal with that, right? You don't panic, you don't freak out, you don't give them all of this kind of unhealthy attention to every scrape and bump and whatever, right? You don't let your emotions lead them to panic, right? Because if you do say, "Oh my god, are you okay?" They're like, "I don't know, maybe not. Oh my god, am I dying?" Right? Okay. But what seems to be like the case with all of these, like, I don't know if I think all of these fucking people who are having meltdowns right now, like they've never had a parent who was just like, "Oh, dude, mind your head, like, and don't be so clumsy next time." Like they never had a parent who did that. They had a parent who freaked out over every little fucking bump, and then they got all this attention, right? All this, and it's not healthy attention. It's unhealthy attention, right? And they crave it. They want it. They need it. And I think that he's
on something. Yeah.
You know, at the other end of Munchausen's is the parent who gets upset the moment that you show independence from them. And they're like, "I worked so hard for you, and I take care of you all day long, and I do this, and I do that, and I make sure this, and I make sure that, and this is the thanks I get." And I see that in a lot of the older social justice type responses, the old guard of the political correct movement, the politically correct movement. That's like with Matt out there. This is your life. That's what it'd be like. That is a clear, we own you, and you just went off the reservation, and we worked so hard to build this reservation for you, and we made sure that it was plenty stocked, and we gave you your bread and circuses, and this is the thanks we get.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, I always just lived by the, some people call it free range kids. I call it raised by wolves. But when my 14-year-old is like, "I want blah blah blah, I want to go to the store," and I'm just like, "Fucking go, like, just go. I'm not taking you. Go, do what you want. Fucking go jerk off. I don't care. Just stop bothering me." I'm trying to script a video here, kid.
Because then when they're 25, they won't feel helpless about going to the store because mommy always took them.
Well, no, it's just I've always been kind of like, things didn't always need to be structured. The kids could always essentially choose their activities outside of school. They could choose to do what they wanted. I didn't push them into fucking scouts or soccer. They chose to do that, and then they chose to give it up. And it's just like, if they wanted to do something, I'd support it. If they didn't, I would be like, why would I push my kid into like, say, "Yeah, no, you can do that. Yeah, no, totally, you can do that." But I'm not going to pressure my kid into doing shit, and I'm not going to pressure my kid into feeling like they're dependent on me.